Come with me today, and we've got a Peugeot 3008 in for a failed clutch. Now this is a semi-automatic gearbox. Before we go anywhere, I'm just going to jump in the car and show you. Now with the vehicle all running, we can see all the hydraulic pressures are perfect in the gearbox, and if you just pop it into gear, you should see now by here it'll say slipping. Just as you pop it into gear. So yeah, that is the clutch failed. Let's get into it. First thing we're going to do, remove the battery and the battery tray out of the way so we can gain access to the top of the gearbox. Now we've removed all the stupid amounts of plastic just to gain access to this top gearbox mount. Slacken the 18 off and just undo the 213, so when we take it up in the air we can reach over and just fiddle it off with our fingers. Now before we take the vehicle fully up in the air, what we're going to do, remove this inner splash guard, centre dry shaft nut, slacken off the ball joint. And some of you may know that sometimes you used to be able to take the front end of the car to gain access to this bar here. Now what I do on them, take the lower splitter off and you gain access to all the bolts from there. Ball joints now are out of the bottom arms, dry shafts out of the hubs. We just need to come across now, just drain the gearbox out at the bottom here. Then we need to come and remove this dry shaft from the driver's side with some T30s, I think the T30s, and then we can pull that shaft out. Now we've got the shafts out, I did get a little bit carried away and I started taking the box out. We've dropped it down now off the chassis, we've undone all our bell housing bolts. It's just much easier to do it this way, through the wheel arching rather than pulling it out at the top. We've also removed the wiring harness going through the gearbox itself. Now what you need to remember is when you're removing these gearboxes, all this electronic module at the side here, you need to be extra careful where you're putting your transmission jack. Right, let's get this gearbox out. And there you go, that is one box out. It was really fiddly. I had to slide it out, twist it almost 90 degrees and slide it out. Bit of a pain in the arse. But anyway, as you can see now, the clutch plate isn't even doing anything. So let's get this pressure plate off, T40s. Well, I'm not going to lie, I was expecting to see that clutch plate a little bit worse than that, even though it is now. I was expecting it to be all broke up, but no, it's still in one piece. Right, let's get the new one fitted. And that's it, that is the brand new clutch, has just arrived. Now you've got it lined up. Now these clutch alignment tools, let's be honest, they're probably the best you're going to ever get. Always make sure that it is lined up correctly with the pressure plate, otherwise you ain't getting that gearbox back on. Right, let's get it on and torqued up. Now let's move around to the concentric slave. Now they are quite a funny looking one on these. On the back of them there is a rubber O-ring. Make sure that that is on there when you're putting that new one on, and that surface is absolutely spotless. If that rubber seal's not on there, you are going to have a leaky gearbox and contaminate your clutch. Let's get it on. Now we've finished putting the concentric slave in the gearbox, and the clutch plate and pressure plate are now back onto the flywheel on top to 20 Newton meters. We've also dated it and hashtag get a send. We're going to marry these back up now. It's a little bit tricky on my own, so I'm going to ask for a little bit of assistance just to give me a jiggle-a-rooney in. That is everything now all put back together like brand new. But before we put the wheel on, we're going to make sure that this hydraulic tank is nice and full, because that controls the clutch and it will automatically bleed itself through the diagnostic machine. Now we're inside the vehicle, jumped on the launch Eurotamp 3. Now what it tells us to do, we've got to leave the engine running for 20 minutes, get it up to temperature, and we've got to drive it, and it's got to learn its own clutch point after it's been bled. And in that time, I'm just going to go now and put the inner wheel arch on, torque the wheels up, and it should be ready for a little bit of a test drive. Now I'm out in the car, you've got to pull over, start, stop, put it in first, pull off sharply, stop sharply. Make sure, I've got all the live data there, which I'll show you when I get back in a minute, but it is an absolute pain. And it does learn all the gears. It is a little bit of a nightmare. You've got to make sure there's nothing behind you, in front of you. It is an absolute pain. But anyway, as you can see, everything is working as it should, and we got no slip. Now we're back at the yard after learning all the parameters of the gearbox and all the clutch slip and blah blah blah. As you can see, live data now, you can see it working as it should. And now the car drives as it should. Anyway, that is one clutch replacement on a Peugeot semi-automatic 3008. Anyway, let's get it sent.